Happy New Year's Eve day.
Happy New Year's Eve day.
Do people not say
Midday,
that?
afternoon. I have not heard it.
It's not time to say Happy New Year's yet.
No, it's not. It is not the New Year technically. Although for some people it is.
Yeah,
I like you're watching from Japan.
I like how you like dressed the part today too. I wish I had a t-shirt like that.
I wore my formal attire.
Instead, I'm embracing what's on the horizon. This is my Sundance hat purchase this year. I always buy a new hat, and I'm like, look at these colors. Like that's
it looks
funny.
very warm and comfortable.
Colors. Yeah, I mean, like I want to be warm and comfortable all the time. So it's not just a Sundance hat, but like it was purchased specifically with Sundance in mind.
The main reason I'll probably never go to Sundance.
I mean, I kind of don't blame you, and you know that like most of the time I'm the biggest baby in the world in the cold. There's something about what Sundance is though, and like the vibe and the schedule where I don't know. Like this will be what, like my 4th or 5th year gone. Like I don't really remember suffering in a year, which is unusual for me.
I don't believe there's any suffering. It's just my own personal, when you have so many to choose from, you can only take a few. It's like, yeah, I'm going to go to my Texas festivals where it's nice and warm.
I just said 4th or 5th. I think it's only my 3rd.
I have no idea.
I think it's my 3rd. Yeah. All right. I'm surprised I can count that. What's up, everyone?
3? Is that a struggle?
3. Oh, because like telling the difference between all the festivals, and also because it used to be really easy. Like it used to be really easy for me to count how many times I've been to a con or a festival when it was like consecutive years. But now because we lost 2 years, if not more, for
100%.
a couple things, it's confusing. Vanya likes your tux.
Hell yeah.
As does Hoshi.
Heck yeah.
I'm going back to the top. What's up, Steven? Happy New Year. MK Songbird, Happy New Year. Annabelle is here. You guys are awesome. You guys are awesome. I did a bunch of chats today, and I'm just thinking, I love my Patreon team. They're just like really cool people, and they make me happy. And so like to be able to do Merri Hour and chats right before the end of 2022, it was just good vibes. It's good vibes. We're gonna have a super chat from Wiley. Happy New Year's Eve. I got a fun question for you today. What movie or show in 2023 do you think will have the best needle drops? I'm looking forward to it. It's It's Me, Margaret, No Hard Feelings, Songbird, Wonka.
I mean, for me, it's Guardians. I like Guardians is gonna win. I trust in Gunn's music choices, and I think that's gonna be the one to beat in terms of needle drops.
I think you're probably right. I think you're probably right. I'm curious to see what kind of needle drops Maxine has.
True.
Like, is there
as well?
Like going to Hollywood, and what is it, the 70s? I guess if it takes place right after the events of X, like, or didn't they say it's the 80s? Did I make that up?
No, I think you're right. I think it's an 80s.
I don't know. Hollywood,
80s iteration.
It just sounds like right for needle drops.
I'm looking it up because I can do that now because Amelia let me borrow her handy iPad, so I have like a whole station.
I will say whatever's going on here, your connection, your picture, your sound, like everything just looks really smooth and crisp right now. And I feel like now that I've said that out loud, I've probably jinxed it.
That's because I did the last 2 weeks in New Jersey in my parents' Wi-Fi, which I don't know how is literally like their Wi-Fi is in their, the router's like in the family room, and I went like 2 rooms over and got no internet. I don't understand.
I mean, they probably have like stuff in the wall that like messes up the connection.
Just loaded with it, yeah.
They need a mesh system. Like my folks
I'll get them on that. Yeah, they'll know exactly what that is.
My dad set it up. He pulled it off. I don't know.
Yeah, but you've met my parents. No. I've met your parents, so that makes sense. And you've met my parents, and I think that makes sense as well.
I forgot to put Do Not Disturb on. That ding was just it was a family text chain. So if I don't put Do Not Disturb on now, you're gonna get here like 30 more Happy New Year's. It will be over and over and over again. Did you have an answer? Did you look up?
Yeah, it's 80s. Oh no, it's straight up. Yeah, sorry, we got talking about other things. Yeah, so it's I think Ty West in the 80s is going to have some as well. But we've seen all the Guardians movies. I
Yeah.
just can't get away from that. Every year, like that's one of my favorite soundtracks of music compiled. Not like, well, actually both anyway.
I feel like you had the right answer. Anything else could be a good educated guess, but that is the answer. Haunted Autumn's here. Okay, that hat deserves a super chat. Love it. I'm gonna
There you
think
go.
about this super chat when I walk into our studio and I'm wearing this hat on day one, and I need a little boost in confidence in my outfit. So thank you, Haunted Autumn, for the super chat and for that. Neil's here. Perri, Happy New Year. So proud of you and proud to support you. Movie for me to look forward to is Bikeriders, stacked cast. Be well all. What is it? Why do I not know what that is? I said Bikeriders or Raiders.
A few people have said that, and
Riders.
I hadn't heard of it yet, but
Bikeriders?
Bikeriders by Jeff Nichols. That's a new Nichols
Jeff
movie.
Nichols movie. Wow, this wasn't really on my radar at all. And my God, that cast.
Yep.
Wow.
It is indeed a good cast. Austin
Butler, Michael Shannon, Jodie Comer, Tom Hardy, Boyd Holbrook, Norman Reedus, Bo Knapp, Mike Feist, Emery Cohn. Wow. Based on a book. Should I read this book? It follows the rise of a Midwestern motorcycle club through the lives of its members. Huh.
Yeah.
Well, then.
Heck yeah.
Thank you for putting this on our radar, Neil.
Says it's aiming for a Cannes premiere.
Ah.
So that is why we probably haven't heard much about it yet. It just wrapped filming, and it was eyeing that kind of awards premiere.
That makes sense for a Jeff Nichols movie. I would assume it would have a festival start, and with that cast. John wants to know, favorite shows of 2022. For me, The Rehearsal, Peacemaker, The Boys, Andor, Industry, Better Call Saul, Reacher. 2023 shows you're looking forward to. For me, Invincible Season 2, Gen V, Warrior Season 3, and Reacher Season 2. Do you want to go first, Matt?
I'm definitely going to throw The Bear on there. The Bear is an answer to both of those questions if they do end up releasing in 2023 for the new season. But The Boys absolutely is there too as well. I had a lot of fun with Mythic Quest too. I think I might be an episode or two behind on that, but Mythic Quest is always up there for me. And I mean, Letterkenny just dropped, and Letterkenny delivered another solid, 6 episodes. So that is where I'm standing right now on my favorites for this year. But yeah, and then for next year, it's the same. Like Letterkenny usually films back to back, so we'll get another season next, in this coming year. And yeah, I just can't get away from The Bear.
I still need to binge The Bear.
So good.
Maybe that'll be my flight back to LA binge, because I'm determined when I fly back to LA to not work, not do any typey work,
right? Yeah,
or writing work, and to only just sit back, relax, and watch a show. Maybe that'll be my show.
It'll be all of half the flight, if you just a little bit over. Yeah, it's 20 to 30-minute episodes. Only
I did not realize it was that bingeable.
It's wonderful. You'll be done with it.
I like that. I'll say Peacemaker was a pretty big highlight for me. In particular, I loved everything about the show, but those opening credits are just that, they're one of the things that define 2022 the most for me.
Mm-hmm.
I'll also say Cobra Kai season 5. I really, really loved season 5. I really love Wednesday. That show made me happy. It was very much my vibe. So that was great. And Andor was so good, Matt. It was so
Andor was good. Yeah.
I did that binge a little later than most, and people were not lying. That show, everything about it, the production design and the level of detail that went into all of that, and also just the whole structure of that script. I feel like all of those characters that were in play shouldn't have had such meaningful arcs all on their, even characters that were only in a couple of episodes still had a meaningful storyline and actually grew over the course of the show. But in particular, I feel like when you usually have an ensemble cast like that, there is always a little bit of them coming together in the end that feels slightly forced. Everything felt so earned and natural and necessary. And that was just one of the qualities of that show that really wowed me.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like they kind of reflected on some of the complaints, what have you, or looking at The Mandalorian and the other, recent Star Wars stuff. I think Andor became a more fleshed out show, where to me, like Mandalorian and Book of Boba Fett felt more just like episode by episode. They felt like little anthologies in a way. But to your credit, you know, the way that they deal with the story and the characters in Andor and stuff like that, it just feels more fleshed out for what we've recently got, and that is a very nice thing to see.
But it felt fleshed out and it felt real. I'm like admittedly, I'm kind of taking these words from Diego Luna's mouth because we were just speaking, but I do think it's very accurate and really reflects.
Name drop that. Just
drop that. Well, because like I also know I never like to pass off something that I heard someone involved in a movie or show say during my interviews and like pass it off like it was my own thought. I always like to make sure people know that I spoke to someone involved. But like he was busy talking about how you're meant to feel like you're not in a galaxy far, far away. And these characters are supposed to feel like real, living, breathing human beings that we in our reality could know. And I think they accomplished that very, very well.
It's a rebellion story. It's a political story. Those are all very common and universal.
Right. Next year, I'm really looking forward to most of all Yellow Jacket season 2.
Oh, right. That's right. Yellow Jacket.
Foaming at the mouth for that new season. Yeah, I want it. I want it. Vincent's here. Happy New Year for me. It's Indy 5, Dune 2, and Oppenheimer. We'll have to wait and see if any of those make our lists. Ryan is also here. My number one most anticipated movie of 2023 is Dune Part 2. As a fan of the books, I love Denis' vision of the world and the characters. I'm hoping Part 2 is his path to a Best Director Oscar. Happy New Year. You never know.
Who knows?
With him, it could really happen. Mike Joyce is here. Perri loved the movie montage. Thank you. How do you go about putting that together? Changes year to year. I feel like my movie montage, Matt, is what I always say with like something like letterboxd. Like every single new year, I'm always like, I'm going to use letterboxd and I'm going to keep on top of my shit. And I never do it. And I always say every year, when the new year rolls around, at the end of every month, I'll download the trailers for that month and I'll clip out the things that I like. Never happens. But like this year, because I had the Avatar trip and other things happening the first half, I'm usually working on it all of December. Right. I did not start until like 2 to 3 weeks into the month. And when I say I was scrambling this week, I barely finished that video before the new year. So I'm very happy people are enjoying it.
You finished it just in time.
I did not think it was going to be done in time.
This is going to be the year that every time I see a movie, I'm going to log it right after. I swear. This is going to be the one.
If you do it, I'll do it. So
I make it to the end of the year okay. Usually, like, I'll get to the end of a week and I'll be like, crap, what did I see this week? Because if I go past there, I'm forgetting something.
I should do it. I feel like
it makes end of the year stuff so much easier. That's the only reason I do it. I can like pitch things out at the end of the year because I can sit there and just look through my diary and look through the ratings.
When you post something to Letterboxd, you post like a written review too, right? Like what if I don't want to write something?
Oh no, God, don't you like? You can just log it if you want to. You can use Letterboxd just to log. You don't have to write anything. I post my review because usually I'm seeing a movie for it. So I'll just post a link to my review and that's it.
I mean, I guess I could just post a link to my review then.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Maybe I'll do it. I feel like that's like not.
It's one more avenue.
Level of confidence and intensity I should have going into 2020.
Yeah, but okay, so here's how I'll get you to do it though. That's one more avenue for people to find you. That's one more avenue for people to click on your links and
you are right. You are right.
Because I didn't believe it was, and then I like a few people told me they only see my reviews because they follow me on Letterboxd, and I was like, oh, okay, I guess I should keep doing this.
All right. I think you've piqued my interest. My very first Letterboxd filing, if it happens, will be Megan.
There you go. Exactly.
I'm so excited to see that movie.
I am too. I can't wait.
Wiley's here with a super chat. Little off topic, but I have been binging Teen Wolf. It's awful and needle drops are the worst I've heard. But man, am I loving it. Have you seen it? Wow, what an endorsement, Wiley. I don't even know what to do with that.
I have offhandedly seen some episodes because I had an ex who was obsessed with it. So I have indeed seen some Teen Wolf, and it wasn't really for me, but I understand why people enjoy it.
Yeah, I've never watched it, but I really like Dylan O'Brien. I think he's super
There
cool
you
and
go.
very talented. So there's
Yep.
that. Oh, she's here. Hi, Perri and Matt. Happy New Year, everyone. Who were your top 5 favorite villains of 2022?
Okay.
Homelander and Quaritch are definitely mine.
I mean,
Top 5 anticipated horror of 2020. We'll table that because I have a
yeah.
feeling our lists are probably loaded with genre picks.
But we talked about villain a little bit
Yeah,
last week too. So
what did
for
we say? Tar.
I threw Tar out. Yeah,
Yeah.
I threw Lydia Tar out there.
And I said Pearl.
Pearl is definitely there, even though again that's like the debatable, like kind of go back and forth on it. Man, like
Pearl's a villain.
No, I know. I argued it was using the logic someone tried to like throw into it. I mean, can we throw Jack Quaid in there and go Scream? Yeah,
I would probably do both Jack Quaid and Mike Madison. I love their motives and just I love that entire third act.
The fandom, the toxic fandom line is just so good in the way he reads it. But Homelander, 100%. Again, like that, I can't get away from Homelander.
Oh yeah,
just one of the best villains we have going.
As long as that show is airing, Homelander seems like he will always be one of the top villains every single year.
Yeah, and the way they're developing him, especially this year.
Terry Silver, definitely one of the best villains of 2022, but also 2021.
I'm thinking of like the bigger movies, and I'm thinking of like, Gore doesn't really like. Does Gore fit as a villain? Does that actually work? Because we get the backstory, and we talked about it last time.
Yeah,
that was a whole discussion.
This is the hole we keep digging. I mean, you could also say Sully and Bones and all, which I mean, he's a villain. He does bad things, but he's also put in a situation like not by his own doing, and these are the twisted ways he's learned to live with it.
No, I agree with that. Yeah, I think that's a list of good villains right there.
It's interesting. Are we caught? Derek is here.
There you go.
Derek says, thank you so much, Perri, for all that you do, and good luck on all your endeavors in 2023. Thank you so much, Derek. I'll be making my first short film soon and can't wait for the Oscar nominations this year. Congratulations on being able to say I'm going to make a short film, and good luck filming that. That is going to be one heck of an experience that you'll never forget. I will guarantee that.
Yeah.
All right. We are caught up.
We are.
That means it is time for our most anticipated movies of 2023. We each have a list of 5. We'll bounce back and forth. Do you want to do the honors and go first, or do you want me to?
Yeah, I mean, I'll start easy and use one of the ones that are in the thumbnail, and I'm going to go with Guardians 3, and it's a pretty simple pick for me because the Guardian movies have so far been my favorite Marvel properties. It's James Gunn's final, Marvel property before officially being like only DC and only working on DC, and there's nothing really needs to hype me on it. Like everything I've seen so far, I already knew I was going to love. And again, everything I've seen so far in like Guardians 1 and 2, we're on the right trajectory. And like we talked last time, like this is going to be a big deal for, I think, some characters. I don't think some characters are going to make it out of this movie, and I'm not prepared for possibly what's going to happen.
I'm not prepared for that. I don't even want to entertain that idea until I have to. I'm right there with you though. That's I'm so pumped for that movie. Guardians is still my favorite MCU movie of all time. I love Guardians Volume 2. I love those characters, and I don't know, just like I like the emphasis that James Gunn always places on characters that operate in a little bit of a gray area and watching how they grow and mature. And it's something that's present in a lot of his work, but I think it's especially powerful in these Guardians movies. And if this is indeed going to be some sort of like capper or wrap up to that trilogy of films, I just imagine it's going to come with a pretty big and satisfying emotional wallop that I'm very interested in seeing.
Yeah, and I mean, just the introduction of Adam Warlock too. Like, there's just a lot of things that they can play around with that character and introducing it to the Guardians, and just like for what this movie is going to mean for the MCU moving forward. I'm just, I don't usually have a Marvel movie on like my most anticipated, and that's not because I hate Marvel movies or anything like that. It's just, they're the kind of movies I'm just gonna see no matter what, and I'm a little more excited to see other things usually in movies, but a James Gunn Guardians movie is always going to be on top of my list.
I'm right there with you. Should I say the most obvious movie on my list and get that out of the way first? You'll
Sure, let's do it.
You'll never guess what it is, Matt, in a million years.
Is it going to make me scream?
Very good.
There you go.
Scream 6. This is obviously on my list. It's not just on my list. It is the most anticipated movie for me in 2023. I feel like it would have been on the list no matter what, but a big part of the reason why it's at the top of my list is because Scream 5 wound up being my number 2 favorite movie of 2022. I've talked about it at length, but just like more broadly and briefly, it's the coolest thing in the world that we got a continuation of my favorite film franchise that embraces all of the pillars that made Scream stand out and feel unique back in 1996. It upholds those pillars, but then adds new ones that encourage newcomers, but also let the longtime fans feel satisfaction and growth in something that they've known and loved for so long. So Scream 6 all day long.
I mean, you're giving me Samara Weaving in a Scream movie, so I don't like again, you don't have to do much more to get me excited there. And again, I as an enjoyer of Scream 5, Scream, whatever you want to call it, I like where we're going with New York City. I like where we're going by taking it out of Woodsboro and like giving us a urban cityscape horror film. And it promises something different. It promises something we haven't seen before in the franchise. And not to say no other film has given us, just something new, because they all do. They all reinvent. They all come on horror somehow. And I am curious to see how they comment on horror as a period again, because like my favorites in the franchise are like 1 and 4 on top, because 1 and 4 had the most to say about horror at the moment. And I feel like this sequel falls more into like 2 and 3, because 2 and 3 came so close after 1. There wasn't that much evolution in the genre to really comment on. So I am curious to see how that works as well, because is it going to go like the Jason Takes Manhattan? Are we going to comment on the franchise getting this far in and just do something that bonkers? I don't know. We're going to see. I'm still going on our Cult of Ghostface.
Yeah, I'm into that idea. I'm into it. I was gonna add something else. Oh no, it was because I had spent so much time editing that movie montage, and it was just reminding me of a whole bunch of films that like might have flown under the radar. Yep. If you're that big, this is gonna sound like a very random suggestion, but if you're that big of a fan of Samara Weaving, you should see the movie that she did called The Valet. I believe it's on Hulu, and it's it's a romantic comedy, and it's one of those things where if you judge a book by its cover and you look at this movie and you judge it by its poster, you might think it's like silly nonsense, but it's really sweet and lovely. And she is just yet again delivering peak level work in that.
The scene in Babylon, a movie that I did not enjoy that much, but the scene with Samara and Margot Robbie looking at each other and having the face off is just everything. It's everything that I ever needed in a movie and I wanted for so long.
I did enjoy that quite a bit myself. What is your next one?
I will stick with the thumbnail because these are all known films. But are we really not going to be excited for another John Wick movie? To me, it's just one of the most consistent franchises running. It gives you exactly what you want in the sense that you're here for the action. You're here for this world they're building of assassins and deep, rich lore where you can just go to hotels and find safe grounds and all these things. So what they're doing is so very cool. What they keep presenting us and executing is of the level that we want every time. And again, other franchise that does really well with needle drops and music. So we're getting another movie with a bunch of badass action stars, and especially again, bringing in international action stars and actually giving us. It's not like an American action franchise that gets stuck with using the Wahlbergs and the Rock over and over again. No, John Wick actually cares about using international stars who have been leading the action genre in a way that exactly bringing in Donnie Yen. These are the guys that kick the most ass. Overseas and Indonesia and all these other places that are crushing horror films. I like that John Wick recognizes that.
Yeah, I'm mighty excited for John Wick, and it's weird how excited I am because I was one of those people that was a big old baby about watching the first one because of the premise. It took me a really long, even though it was getting rave reviews and everything, it took me a really long time to suck it up and watch that first movie. And I was fully in tears the entire movie, even after the first act had ended. But I still recognize that it was a great movie, and I've been like loving them like to their core ever since. I just can't rewatch the first act of the original movie.
Like, we have Donnie Yen, Scott Adkins in the same movie, and especially in a John Wick movie. Like, get out of here. That's amazing.
It's a good lineup. I think there are some quotes though that say, I guess it's Chad Stahelski that probably said that they're going to shake things up a bit with this in terms of, you know, their fourth film. This will be their fourth film. They have 3 films that have already come out and really really appeased fans. But now that they have a formula, they need to shake things up. And I think specifically the example he gave was the idea of it going, maybe it was more global, but having more storylines to consider. Like it's a bigger story with more characters involved, I think.
Well, so I'm finding some quotes, and like one of the quotes that they gave to IndieWire was, so he later teased a 4th film in the interview with IndieWire, saying Wick would not end the 4th film in a happy ending, saying John may survive all this shit, but at the end of it, there's no happy ending. He's got nowhere to go. Honestly, I challenge you right now. Here's a question to you. How do you fucking want me to end it?
Oh, God.
Like, so like that's his mentality approaching, and like this is as he's figuring out John Wick 4 and like as the story is developing. But I mean, that's how they came into this movie, saying, no, this isn't going to be a good ending for Mr. Wick. And again, he may survive, but what it sets up for 5, like this may be one of those real downer endings of a franchise film.
I mean, I'm open to it. I don't like it because I want all my favorite characters to have super happy endings and stuff. But as long as they justify it in the narrative, you go for it. You go for it.
Selesky just went crazy in this. Hold on, I'm going to read another sentence. He's just going to fall in love with the love interest. If you're this fucking guy, if you really existed, how is this guy doing? Oh yeah, he's fucked for the rest of his life. It's just a matter of time. Literally, this guy, like Selesky, just went crazy in this interview, just going like, nah.
I get it. Again, as much as I want a happy ending for characters that I like, they've well solidified after 3 films that there's kind of no getting out for him. There is no happy ending. It feel disingenuous to the overall concept.
Yeah, I mean, like they've been working with this character for a long time too. That becomes like a personal thing, and like the trajectory. Like I'm sure Chad Stahelski is like very in tune with John Wick and just being like feeling everything that Wick feels the way he writes him.
I apologize. Hiroyuki Sanada in John Wick Chapter 4. A stacked ensemble across the board. Do you want to hear my next one?
Sure. That's what we're here for.
Evil Dead Rise.
Yeah, of course.
I am so excited for Lee Cronin. I'm so excited for this franchise to be back on the big screen. And I really do have a very good feeling that he's going to be able to deliver the best of both worlds. Something that feels Evil Dead, but also something that feels separate enough from like the Ash-centric realm that we're so used to. And I think it's going to be like a really fresh and probably deeply scary approach. I'm curious to see more promotional material to get a better sense of tone, because I feel like in particular with the Evil Dead films, it really does have a very wide range that it could play in. But I don't know. Right now I'm getting like sheer terror vibes from it.
Yeah, because like if you look at Cronin's The Hole in the Ground, you know, it's a very psychological horror film, but it's atmospheric, it's dreadful. It's not, you know, it's not a gore forward film to say, and that's not to pigeonhole anyone or put anyone in a box and say they can't do things, but you get a sense from Cronin's previous work of like the kind of horror filmmaker that he is. So bringing that into the world of Evil Dead, like 100%, we've gotten the camp so far from, you know, Sam Raimi and all them. But, you know, Fede Alvarez did the same thing, you know, making a straightforward horror film. I think that Evil Dead reboot, requel, whatever we're calling it, changed the trajectory. Like that's the new scary norm. So Evil Dead Rise, I think, is going to be more in line with that, and that's what we're seeing so far. So I listen again. We're doing great things with apartment-based horror and like city-based horror, and that's it's just a fun swing because we've done the Cabin in the Woods so many times, and there's so many things that we're now used to, the tropes and all that. So give me things in a public place in a crowded space.
Yep. I'm also just so happy that this is getting a theatrical release now.
Yep. Yeah, that was a really nice little swing there.
As it should. We have another super chat from Jonathan Peck. Which under the radar 2023 movie are you intrigued to watch? Mine will be Gareth Edwards' True Love, Redfield, and Maestro by Bradley Cooper. I feel like I'll have a really good answer for you at the end of January after I've gotten back from Sundance and I've seen some under the radar type stuff. I'm trying to think of certain things that I might be covering at Sundance or are on my list, but like even then I don't necessarily know if they're going to get
a release this year. I mean, like that's the thing. Like the under the radar stuff, we don't really know until the year starts and we start going to festivals. And like that, one of my joke answers was going to be like, yeah, one of the most anticipated things for me next year is finding the next like Cha Cha Real Smooth.
Yeah.
Or like the movie that is not on my radar that I have no idea exists. And then all of a sudden, you're at Sundance or you're at South by or wherever you are, like you just see that movie and it becomes the thing you talk about the entire year, like a different blind spotting and stuff like that.
Rebel Ridge. All right. I'm always down for Jeremy Saulnier movie.
Oh, heck
one movie that is playing at Sundance and does have a release is Infinity Pool. So there's a
January
genre one to look forward to. Brandon Cronenberg's new movie with Mia Goth and Alexander Skarsgård.
Don't have to wait that long.
Yeah,
literally like in a few weeks. Yeah.
We are on to your third.
I think so. And so like.
Wait, yeah, because I just said Evil Dead.
Okay. Yeah. You're on my third. I'm gonna go with the new Magic Mike movie from the often retired Steven Soderbergh, who keeps coming out of retirement to do more work.
You should wear that shirt when we cover it.
Absolutely, I will gladly do that. But I mean, it's a simple one of I love both Magic Mike movies. Like it was one of those premises that you watch the first one and all of a sudden it blows you away, and you're like, the second one can't. They can't hit the same magic, can they? And like to me, they did. So I just Soderbergh and Tatum have found a really charismatic, energetic, stripper road comedy vibe in these movies, and I want to see more of it. I'm in for every part of it, all the choreography, all of the way they subvert tropes again, like of like modern movies and stuff like that. So I'm here for more Magic Mike.
It really is a shockingly consistent series. Like I never in a million years would have imagined that we'd get a Magic Mike trilogy at all. But when you look at the quality of the films and then hopefully this one as well, it really could be a very well-made stellar trilogy.
Like one of those trilogies you talk about later, you're just like, how is that this good? And I mean, that's credit to Soderbergh. I mean, like I may not like all of his movies, but he is a competent as hell director and he knows how to make a damn movie. So
absolutely.
What he's doing with the Magic Mike films and like his vision, especially for that, and again the way he works with all the actors and the dancers and stuff like that, this is where Soderbergh is doing his best stuff to me.
Here's a good question. So where the hell is Salem's Lot, the remake, Warner Brothers / New Line Cinema? It got pulled and they haven't added it. The last report that I saw was just someone saying that they knew the runtime of the movie. I think it was just under 2 hours, but where the fuck is this movie? Where is this movie?
I think it might be a casualty. I think this might. No. It'll go somewhere else. It will get released. I'm not saying.
Well,
it's gonna die.
when you say casualty, we really do need to consider it just being like locked away and never seen.
And it is very possible if that happens too. I don't think that will happen with this. I mean, like think about Cabin in the Woods, a movie that got finished and shelved that was because of a company going out of business.
Different kind of shelving was happening then versus now.
True. Yeah. So that is the thing. I think we'll see it. I don't think we'll see it this year. And if we do, it's just going to hit like a streamer. Like it's going to get sold off to a streamer and just go somewhere.
Honestly, I hope it gets sold. I hope it gets sold and somebody releases it. But I don't know. I have a little bit of a hard time believing that given Gary Dauberman's attachment to the Conjuring verse and New Line Cinema in general, do you think that he would direct this movie and then be okay with it just going in the trash, essentially?
That's not up to him. That doesn't matter.
That's like a fucked up thing.
That doesn't matter.
It's a fucked up thing to do with literally any filmmaker on this planet. but it would be especially dangerous for their long-term relation. It's like if I were him and that happened to Salem's Lot, I'd be like, all right, I'm done with you guys.
And then they say, cool, we'll get someone else to keep writing our Conjuring movies. I don't like it either, but that's the reality of it. Because what Gary Dauberman brings, there are 10 million writers itching for that spot. And I'm not saying they'll be as good as Dauberman. I'm not saying they'll have the same chemistry with the Conjureverse overseers, but the reality of it is Warner Discovery can look at Dauberman and say, cool, walk by. That's business.
So sad. This is feature directorial debut too.
Is it?
Isn't it?
No, didn't he do? No, he did Annabelle Comes
Home. You're right.
Which is fun.
I like Annabelle Comes Home a lot. I think it's a lot of fun. I thought they did a really good job promising, like making do on the premise that they pitched when the movie was first announced, which basically was Annabelle meets Night at the Museum.
Right. Yeah. That's what it felt like, a really cool Halloween Horror Nights maze. To walk through, you know, like in a good way, not in a jokey way, like in a good way.
All right. I might cheat with my list and go over if we don't mention all these titles. So I'm just going to keep going down in month order. The next one that I have here is Elemental, the new Pixar movie.
Oh, yeah.
Did you see the teaser for that? It looks adorable. And
it does look cute.
As someone whose favorite Pixar movie of all time is Inside Out, the idea of that company anthropomorphizing things like emotions, let's say, or in this case, elements, seems very promising to me. I'll never forget when we first heard about Inside Out, when it was just like concept art or something. And I'm like, how are you going to turn like sadness and joy into characters and sustain a full feature running time with a meaningful story? It's never going to work. And then, like, sure enough, they made the most brilliant thing in the world. And then, they followed that up by doing something somewhat similar with Soul. I just have really high hopes that they are going to take this concept and really, really run with it. So I am very excited for that, which hits theaters, I think, on June 21st. 16th.
No, yes, 16th. Yeah. Nothing to add. It's another Pixar, I'm excited. Yeah.
So it goes with that company. That's what happens when you're very consistent.
I will continue with animation because I'm absolutely throwing Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse on here. I think the first one was one of my favorite movies of that year. The way that it can take animation and make it feel fresh and reinvigorated, and I know other studios are doing the same thing. Again, just talking about Pixar, like their animation gets better and better every movie. But I don't know, the way that Spider-Man was stylized and the way that it kind of just like went for it so hard in the animation, in like the emotional storytelling and everything that you didn't think this movie was going to be, didn't feel like another generic superhero movie by any means. I am deeply invested to see what they do with this multiversal approach this time. I know it was there previously, but now we're diving into it and we're getting way more of it. So gimme.
The first film was one of my favorite films of that calendar year. So I was definitely going to be pumped for this. And, it felt a little like they were revolutionizing that style of animation back then. And I think they're going to take it really seriously, where obviously this new film is going to have a similar look. But I'm really looking forward to seeing how they push that style even further and do new things with it.
And I think that's what you can, like, a lot of fun with multiversal storytelling is you can do that. Like everything, everywhere, the way that every universe had a different kind of style and type and all these things, when you're dealing with animation, it's just different drawings, different stuff like that. So I'm really excited. And I mean, even watching like Puss in Boots this year kind of made me think about it, because like the action scenes in Puss in Boots, when you do that kind of comic booky style, the anime style, like I immediately thought of like, oh yeah, Spider-Verse was really doing this beforehand. So you can see the influence already.
All right, my next one is Barbie.
Well, yeah, that's fair.
I'm so excited for this Barbie movie. I never in a million years would think that I would say that. I was the type of kid who wanted to play with Legos and Ninja Turtles. I didn't like Barbies. I thought they were lame. They definitely weren't for like the kind of kid I was. My sister was super into them, but I wasn't, and I felt very left out. There was something about like that whole toy concept that never spoke to me, and that's a bummer. And I like the feeling that I get from the teaser in terms of it's seeming like they might address those kinds of ideas and like what Barbie means and what the toy could mean going forward. And I feel like when you have someone like Greta Gerwig and Margot Robbie involved in a toy adaptation about this particular doll, I just have a feeling they're going to have a lot of very meaningful things to say about it, in addition to also this you know, this bright, bold, colorful, like zaniness that's likely going on in this movie. I just have a feeling that it's going to be a really exceptional balance of like pure cinematic, like bonkers joy, but also have some really meaningful through lines that a lot of people and maybe a lot of younger moviegoers will be able to take with them.
And like hopefully too, like I think that's the whole idea of like Gerwig doing this movie and be able to do a Barbie movie that speaks to the bigger themes and bigger things that would be more important for girls to learn moving forward. But I didn't know what this movie was going to be until the trailer. Like we knew a Barbie movie was coming. We didn't know what it was going to look like. We didn't know how the tone was going to be. And I think that first trailer really sets a good vibe. It sets us up completely for what to expect. And I think it's going to be kooky and zany, and also like have those messages and have those things there. They're going to be very important. But quirky is the word, and stylish as well.
Yes, please. I want all of that. So technically, we each have one left, right?
Yeah, technically.
All right. I'll hear your last one, and then if it's not my second last one, I'll just throw in an honorable mention.
That's fair. This is a weird one because I don't know if it actually is one of my most anticipated, but I'm throwing it on here because the previous film revitalized the franchise, and the nostalgia in me, the little kid in me, loved Beast Wars.
Oh,
so I'm literally I'm kind of excited for Transformers: Rise of the Beast. And again, I have been burned by many Transformers movies. I understand this. A lot of them are not good. But at the end of the day, Bumblebee freaking ruled. I am hoping that Bumblebee sets the tone moving forward for how these movies are going to maybe work. I don't think it will, part of me at least, because Bumblebee could be a contained story where Beast Wars is going to be, again, a bigger, expansive Universal movie, like much more of the blockbuster feel. So there is worry in me. Don't get me wrong. But the little kid in me that watched Beast Wars every morning, I kind of a little jazz for this one. I want this to be the turning point. I want to come back around on these movies.
I mean, I actually do think there's a real chance that could happen. And, I don't want to completely diminish the value of all of Michael Bay's work. I just think that he got into a certain habit with the Transformers movies, and really nothing at a point was working for me after the first one. It was a really rough run that I had with his Transformers movies. But, now having Stephen Cable Jr. at the helm, I think there's real possibility that he could turn things around. And then on top of that, you look at that cast, you look at like an Anthony Ramos and a Dominique Fishback. They're two they're already big stars, but they're two people on the rise that don't need to just do a Transformers movie to do a Transformers movie. I don't know. This is me being on the outside looking in and judging how they pick projects. So maybe that's not fair or accurate, but I just get the feeling like they're creators who wouldn't sign on to do something like this unless they saw something really promising and meaty in the script.
Well, I mean, listen, Transformers money ain't bad.
Sure, Transformers money ain't bad, but we are talking about two highly in-demand actors. If it wasn't this franchise, I'm sure there's another franchise that they could have been in contention for. So I have to imagine that they're choosing things with purpose,
Give me my Ron Perlman.
Yeah.
Give me more Ron Perlman.
Okay. I would definitely take more of him as well. All right. So technically my last one is this. My last one is the new Hunger Games movie, The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes. I was a very, very big Hunger Games fan. I feel like I credit the jump starting of my career largely to Hunger Games because at the time I was one of few people at my outlet who had read the books. So it just meant that a lot of assignments were falling to me because nobody else knew the source material. So I really got a strong start around the time that they started casting that movie because I knew about it. And I love the books. I love the movies. Obviously, the final two weren't as strong as the first two, but I still think they were all really. I mean, really, that's another franchise that I think is at a certain level, if not above, the entire time. But when I heard about a book that after everything Katniss and like Co had been through, it wasn't seeing Panem in the future. It was going back to the past. Like, I go back to the past and see what made President Snow eat. Like, I don't want that. Then I finally sucked it up and read the book.
Yeah.
It's a good story. A really good story, and a really good combination again of like making sure that they're focusing on the Hunger Games, and some of the structure of the film is based on the structure of the games, but then also having a lot of outside material that really is a very strong character arc for not just President Snow, but also the character that oh my god, why is her name escaping me now? West Side Story.
Rachel Zegler?
Yes.
Yep.
Her character in it feels especially perfect for what I'm sure she's like, we've only really seen the biggest of the big for her is West Side Story.
Right.
I'm sure she's capable of a whole lot more. But based on what I saw of her in that movie, I'm sitting here thinking like, you are going to crush Lucy Gray. Like you are going to make that character your own, but you're also going to be able to take everything that was on the page in the source material and bring it to life in the best possible way. I just have so much faith in that film.
Yeah, and so for me, like I never read any of the books and stuff like that, so I'm coming into it just as a normie, I guess to say. But like, yeah, no, I do enjoy most of the Hunger Games movies, and Francis Lawrence comes back to direct this one. He's familiar with the franchise already, so there's already that like continuity there in filmmaking.
There could be some like brutal shit in the games too. It's
really?
like when you think about it, in the Hunger Games, we get the 74th Hunger Games.
Right.
And it's the quarter quell, so it's the 75th. This takes us back to like when like old guy Snow was young, and it was
old guy Snow.
It was still the beginnings of the game, so it's like it's like a lot more raw. And those games that we saw are brutal enough. Can you imagine when you take away some of the frills and the things that they've designed over the years? It could be pretty brutal.
It's year one. They haven't figured it out yet. It's just basically like, here you go.
It's
go
kill.
Else.
I think people are gonna dig it. So cool. I had 6 things on my list, and the one extra one that I think we're both looking forward to, if I could speak for both of us, is Maxine.
Yeah, totally. That's confirmed for this year, right?
I'm fairly certain it's confirmed for 2023, but it hasn't been dated.
Right. Okay.
So we have more Mia Goth goodness to look for. She's gonna have a great 2023 too. I mean, she's got that in Infinity Pool.
And I'll say it again. I think this might be of I really enjoyed X. X was like tops of the year for me in terms of horror. I liked Pearl, and again, what Mia Goth does is tremendous there. But the premise for Maxine and where West is taking the story and now doing like an 80s sleazy LA kind of his version of the Neon Demon. That is the most excited for all of the movies in that trilogy I think I've been so far.
I'm very into that. I mean, that could be another one where we have a string of films that just are all good.
Yeah, absolutely. Like for me, if Pearl is the worst movie in that franchise, in my opinion, that still is like a very good bar to be at. Like that is the bottom you want. If Pearl is your bottom, that is the bottom you want in a franchise.
All right. So those are our most anticipated of 2023.
Those are movies.
We have a couple minutes. We could just let people ask questions.
Well, yeah, and also again, like those are movies, but I think it's funny, like talking about what we're most excited for and stuff like that. But my favorite movies at the end of the year are probably going to be populated with things that I didn't even know existed. Like the last week alone, I mean, I watched After Sun, After Yang, like Woman Talking, like all these movies that we weren't talking about coming into the year, and yet now end of year awards recap, all that stuff, and there is just so much to discover throughout the year, and that is what I'm most excited for. Like that is the cheesy dumb answer, but like that is why I love going to festivals and doing this stuff. I just love finding those movies you never know even could exist.
It's half the fun of it. It's like this time last year we never would have realized what Everything Everywhere All at Once could be.
My God.
Yeah.
Like
never would have known.
Exactly. That
never would have known.
The credits for After Yang, so good.
Here's a good question. Pop culture New Year's resolutions. I'll give you one.
Mm-hmm.
I'll give you one. So I have fallen into a bad habit of watching the screeners that I'm given.
Mm-hmm.
And then when my assignments are filed and done, I don't go back and I don't finish a season. I've done it with a lot of, and usually I'm a completist. So the fact that I've gotten into the and like, I'll fully admit it's not totally my fault. It's just, it's the name of the game. You know, we cover what we need to cover for work sometimes. And then even if we do want to go back, you're on to the next thing. So your focus and attention has to be there. But like, I need to have a healthier work-life balance. I'll acknowledge that too. But I am determined to not do that this year because I don't like how many half-seen seasons I have.
Yeah, I think I'm going to go with more going backwards to say, like, I get stuck in just what you said. Like, we're watching what we can write about, and that is what our perpetual motion is. It's just, what's the next thing I'm writing? Cool, that's the next thing I'm watching. I want to fill in the gaps, like 60s, 70s, 80s, all that stuff I'm missing, especially in like horror and stuff like that. So I want to make more time for doing my homework, I guess to say, but like fun homework. Like, let me go watch some Universal classic monster movies and stuff like that.
I like this question. I had to. But you too, Matt. Who would you love to interview in 2023? Obviously, my mind goes straight to Ladies' Nights.
That's fair.
The first one, because we were just talking about it, I would love to have Rachel Zegler on the show for Hunger Games. That's definitely a big one. I would like to have one of the stars of Evil Dead Rise on Collider Ladies Night Pre-Party because we don't really know that cast very well. And I'll also throw out, because I brought up Yellow Jackets, I've now had I've had Melanie Linsky on Ladies Night. I've also had Christina Ricci on Ladies Night, and I did the career retrospective with Juliette Lewis. So I'm clearly missing Tawny Cypress. So I would really love to have her on Ladies Night, and really the door would be wide open to the entire young ensemble too. I would love to have literally any of them.
Any one of them.
I'll take them all. I'll do, like, seriously, I'll do a dozen episodes of Ladies Night just
done on the Yellow Jacket special.
Like,
just run only Yellow Jackets.
Like a quarter of the year will be only Yellow Jacket shit.
You know, like, I got to interview Keanu Reeves before for the first John Wick, and like, I think it would be really goddamn cool to go back and interview him for the new one and just talk about that franchise. And because like, he's so in love with action movies, and like, obviously he does a lot of this stuff himself because he's so into martial arts and stuff like that. So I would kill to talk about all of it with Keanu and like put it down to be like, did you ever think you could be in these John Wick movies with all these like other stars? Because I know if I started talking to him about like working with Donnie Yen and working with all these people he has worked with, like he would just be going, like, he'd be nerding out about that stuff. So that would be a very fun, you know, give me 20 minutes and just let me talk to this guy about this stuff. That would crush.
He always seems like the kind of guy that would literally nerd out about everything he does. And like, that makes someone a really exciting artist to me.
The thing I keep bringing up is like, I was interviewing him for the first John Wick and I just brought up The Replacements just being a personal favorite. And like, he tangented because he was like so excited that I mentioned this movie. And he's just like, oh, like I loved working on that movie. And like, he nerded out and like just went on a tangent about how much he loved them, like working on that. So yeah, give me that. I want that bad.
Makes me happy. Good choice. Yeah. Holy shit, Sam. This is incredibly generous when you're already such a supportive, kind individual. So huge thank you for this. Perri and Matt, I can't thank you both enough for the countless hours of entertainment, insight, and laughs that the two of you brought this year. Can't wait to see all that you guys do in the new year. Wishing you both and everyone in the chat all the best for 2023. Sam, again, this is incredibly generous. Yes. Thank you so much. I feel like this also gives us a good opportunity to second his point and just say thank you to everybody who participates in the live chat.
Yeah.
I feel like, I don't know, maybe nowadays more so than ever, it's very unusual that we have a whole bunch of really nice, supportive, smart people in the chat that treat each other with respect. When you think about it, do we ever delete comments that aren't bots? We don't, and it's because I think a whole bunch of like-minded, very passionate people have found each other on Merri Hour, and that's always what's made it special since day one. And the fact that we've been doing it for as long as we have, and some of you guys have been here from the beginning. We've picked up so many new wonderful people along the way. It is a very, very special group of people, and that needs to be recognized. So big thanks to everybody who's part of that.
Yeah. I'm just happy to be here. Ditto.
None of this would be possible without you, Matt.
That is true.
None of it. It is
none
true.
of it. Absolutely none of it. It's my idea. Give me all the credit.
Guy the Magnanimous is here. Pick one. Oh, I hate these games. Pick one. Gareth Edwards' Avengers: Secret Wars or Denis Villeneuve's Justice League in 2026.
Give me Edwards. I weirdly don't want to see Denis touch a comic book movie.
I guess I don't. I'll see anything that he does, really. But if I'm picking
between
these two options, I'm going Avengers.
Yeah, that is 100% where I'm going with. Also, I don't know. Like I like Gareth's movies.
Yeah, so do I. I'm also just like really looking forward to Dune. So I want to see him do his thing in that universe. All right. I feel like I missed a couple of good questions. Did you see anything that you like?
Scrolling back.
There's like a couple other like resolution type ones.
I mean, there's always the resolutions. Like,
do you have any resolutions?
Like real ones? No,
real
I never
ones.
set resolutions.
Like real, like serious ones.
I'm always just trying to I don't know, figure things out 24/7. So I feel like setting resolutions isn't really helpful. Like as long as I make it through the year, that's my resolution.
Oh, dude.
Not in a bad way. Just it's just we're always flying by the seat of our pants.
It feels like it a little. My resolution is to carve out more me time. And me time is not allowed to be sitting on my butt watching something and then deciding to turn that something into work. Like I need to make myself do a non movie, TV, computer related hobby, or something like that, once a week.
Yeah.
Even if it's just going and getting a fucking massage or something,
Just get out and do something that doesn't involve a screen. Yeah. Hour out of
Matt,
the day.
It could also really mean that we go to a Chargers game or a Rams game every single weekend of the entire, and then all those weekends, I tick that box.
Do we have to travel? Do we have to travel with the team?
We can try. Yeah, we're gonna cross country it. Yeah,
cross country.
Even if they play a London game, we gotta go London.
Yeah, I'm trying to think because I don't know. I have personal goals in the sense that 2022 is really good because. I did a lot more, I don't want to say high profile, but I got to write for much better sites this year. I got into the CCA. So I checked off a lot of boxes, but there's one or two that I haven't yet. So personal goals, there's still one more guild I would love to get into. So next year that is on my mind. And I think I got back to festivals this year. I want to do more. I got back to Q&As this year, so I want to do more of those though. So I think the goal is to continue now that I've gotten my foot back in the door this year. Goals are to make that keep going in 2023.
I have a question for you.
Mm-hmm.
This will probably be a nice thing to wrap on too. Okay. I want you to name the 3 things you are most proud of that you did this year.
Good question.
I come up with some good questions sometimes.
Do you have any off the top of you?
I do.
All right, you start because I just give me a minute to think about it.
I'll tell you one of my first ones that immediately came to mind was I have 2 that came to mind really fast, but to start us off with one here, I'll say it was in particular moderating the Midnight Club panel at New York Comic Con.
There you go.
I have been lucky enough to moderate a panel at San Diego Comic Con, but because I'm a New Yorker, New York Comic Con will always have a special place in my heart. And I am also just an enormous fan of everything Mike Flanagan. And that was a pretty big room. And just, I don't know, the opportunity to do something like that, the fact that it went well, but I don't know, even just the people behind the show and the kind folks over at Netflix looking at me and thinking we trust this in her hands. Just, I don't know. Yeah. Made me feel really good. That was a really cool thing that I'm very proud of.
No, those are 100%. Like, so like thinking along those lines, I guess, the fact that I got to do my silly little podcast at a festival and like, do a live show there was really cool. So again, hopefully that is a 2023 thing where we can do it again, build it from there. I like, weirdly enough, I did some writing this year that I am not weirdly enough, but like there's just some writing because like I get pegged as the horror guy often, but like I got to do some stuff outside of horror, and like it just feels good to like do that kind of thing and just read it back and go, oh yeah, no, I have everything down still. So yeah, like CCA, that was a big tick off. So like that's the thing. I no longer have to be a +1. I can now bring my own.
Good. We can expand our little social circle by all bringing a +1 now. I just bought a CCA outfit for the awards today. I already texted Amelia, not you. Sorry, I'm more excited to show her what I'm wearing than you. But
we did the same. We did the same.
Excited. Very excited.
I got new shirts for under the suit.
Yeah, wear that T-shirt.
Yeah, this is what I'm wearing under the suit. This is the new shirt.
I'll give you another one that was a pretty big first for me. It was moderating the thing for Glass Onion, the critics press conference. Mm-hmm. It was just really cool for a bunch of reasons. I've moderated a bunch of things. I've only ever moderated press conferences virtually, and this was in person. With an especially large ensemble of like A-listers that were very intimidating. But I think most of all, the thing that I loved about that is I feel like even when I have moderated things for our peers virtually, it's different when like you don't see them. Like that was a room,
you don't see the crowd. You don't see like
exactly. That was a room filled with people that I know. Like they're not just my peers, they're like my friends. And some of them I've known since my very first day in this business. Like they've watched me grow up in this business to hit this point where I'm allowed to do something like that. So that was a very, very special day that I will never forget.
Because, like, how many times you've been sitting in a crowd with Bumray, and then all of a sudden, like, Bumray's tweeting about you.
The fact that he was there, like, Bumray is one of my closest friends in this business. Right. I love him to death, and the fact that he was there to see that did make me very happy.
100%. No, that's a good one. Yeah, this has been a good year.
Yeah,
it's been a very good year. So,
I have one more. We were each supposed to name 3, so I'll make my number 3. Doing a whole nother year of this show.
I've actually
hanging out with you and hanging out with Amelia and hanging out with Rogers. Not just like the professional accomplishment of getting through another year of this show and like staying consistent with it, which is like that's a big
part
deal.
of it. It's part of it.
A big deal, but also just like all like the really good times that came from it.
Next year. What goals for next year is to do something live. There you go. There's an actual 2023 goal.
Can we do a live Merri Hour? We need to figure it out.
I think we could. I think there are places that we could do that. So
we have to figure out when as many people as possible are in town. There's definitely going to be a time where people like all converge on LA, like probably around Comic-Con or something.
Probably, yeah, most likely. I think
I like this idea.
It's just something to think of, and I've got some goals for next year. But I mean, again, ditto. I can't believe that. I don't have my watch on, but like looking at the date, but like how
since May of 2020. That's a long time. It's a lot. It'll be 3 years in May of next year. That's crazy. That's crazy. Look, a bot showed up so I could block something.
Finally.
Good timing. We do have one more super chat that we'll get to.
Yeah, let's get that. We will get to that one. That's what we'll end on. There we go.
What would you both want Ty West to do next? I love all his genre films, but House of the Devil was a very specific slice of genre, and Innkeepers was an amazing ghost story. I would kill for Ty to do something like those again. I wouldn't argue with that.
No, there's no argument on it. I didn't dig the Innkeepers. I like House of the Devil. For some reason, the Innkeepers missed me. So I'm kind of having fun with what he's doing. I feel like this trilogy is specifically, he's getting to explore a lot within the slasher subgenre. So I don't know. I think after Maxine, that might change because that might be 3 slashers in a row. But we also don't know if Maxine's really going to be a slasher. You know, like I think it could very well be a weirdo ghost story set, you know, in that world, in the sense of like what Maxine is going through. It could be very psychological horror. It could be very that kind of stuff. So I'm curious to see it, but I kind of like the track he's on. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, I'm pretty into it too. But because you brought up Innkeepers, I want to see him work with Sarah Paxton again. Where's she? Where's she been?
Not. She's directing, I believe. I want to say she's doing.
There was like a period of time where she was just like nonstop in everything. A whole bunch of shit I loved.
I don't know why I think that she's been doing stuff behind the camera.
She was in Blonde, apparently.
Which
I don't see any upcoming. I don't see any upcoming titles.
She's married to Zach Kreger.
Is she really? I guess that would make sense why she has a Barbarian credit too.
They met in 2013 and they married in 2019.
Interesting. How about they all get together and have a whole bunch of strong horror voices make a film together?
Be fun.
I don't know. I'm into it. All right. This is it. This is the last Merri Hour of 2022. We got a whole lot of good times ahead in 2023.
Self-destructs forever.
One last plug, Matt. What would you like everybody to go check out between now and that ball dropping?
Between now and that ball dropping, at Donatobomb, Twitter, Letterboxd, Instagram, Hive, until they all implode. And stuff I've done recently. Again, if you're still looking for some catch up on 2022, I've got Best of Horror, I've got Best of Food Moments at Slash Film, I got Best Scares at Slash Film, IGN, down the list. So just go find me. Go out. Go look me.
I speak like a true New Yorker, and I assume every city has a ball that drops atop a gigantic skyscraper. Don't you?
I don't think we have dropping. I don't think LA has dropping balls.
It's also like I've never really thought about how inappropriate that is, but
just dropping balls.
I mean, how many times have we said that? It's just whatever. I will direct everyone towards my favorite video that I make every single year that took me an absurd amount of hours to complete, my 2022 movie montage. It's right here on the channel. So after this wraps up, go and give it a play, give it a share. And finally, a super sticker from Ian. Ian, thank you for
look at on YouTube.
Thank you for having us close out this stream strong. Thank you for your support. Big thanks to everybody watching right now for all your support, whether you're watching live or you watch it on playback. You are all important to keeping this show alive and thriving, and we appreciate you. Happy New Year, everyone.
The ball drop.